Yes, yes. What's going on, guys? It is 90 minutes or more. Once again, back at you with a weekly podcast. Of course, you already know it's happening every single week to give you an update on what's going on in the football world. And we had a pretty big week this week as it was the Champions League round of 16 opening leg matches. And there was, some surprises, some things we also expected. I think we gave our preview and prediction on last week's episode as to what was going to happen. So yeah, I think we got some of them right, but we'll go through the recap today and kind of break everything down. So you already know, on board with Vicente once again as we continue to get it in. So how's it going, Vicente? How was your 2 days watching the matches? How did you feel after
Not
that first
bad.
leg? Yeah.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I
Yeah,
feel pretty
yeah,
confident
yeah.
actually.
Right. Yeah. No, it was a pretty good two matches to be. I mean, two matches. It was a pretty good
2 days.
slate of matches, I should say, for the Champions League. And yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. Pretty much, I'm gonna start off just at the top of the bracket as I see it, and we can go through the games. We'll give each other's thoughts, and we'll see what we thought of it. As there's a lot to break down in each of them. I feel like, to be honest with you. So we'll start with Paris and Chelsea, which ended up 5-2 for the Parisians. PSG looked like they were in absolute great form, especially towards the end of the match. Very encouraging football that they played, and they were able to hold it down. On my side, the way I looked at the game, I have to give big credit and a round of applause to Enzo Fernandez for, basically holding the Chelsea team down throughout the match and coming up with some big moments with a goal and an assist, including the tying goal as well. However, I feel like the Chelsea players around some of the main players that you have in there, like Enzo, Reece James, Pedro. But apart from that, we definitely seen two sides of this Chelsea team yesterday, And I think when you look at them on paper, you can kind of, see Cole Palmer, see a couple names and overlook the fact or overrate them in a little bit, in a bit of a sense. But clearly we've seen Paris was a little bit too powerful for them at the end of it. Did you catch that match? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I think that Chelsea was alive till they got the fifth goal. Like 4-2 for the game would have been a pretty good result for them because on
Yeah,
the second leg, Stamford Bridge is a hard place to play. But like a 5-2 down with PSG, how they control the game, I see it very difficult for them to like recover from this. And
for sure.
yeah, they're just one of the best. I mean, one of the best three teams in the world at the moment, in my opinion.
Paris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Definitely, PSG definitely showed their class. I mean, I think Chelsea was well into the match until the third goal actually happened for Paris, where it was a big goalkeeper mistake, which we actually seen a few of these throughout the course of the matches. So there was a big goalkeeper mistake. I believe Chelsea ended up starting Jurgensen. I think Robert Sanchez was actually injured and not available for the match. So Jurgensen comes in. Enzo goes and gets the goal to tie the game at 2-2. And I think moments after that, there was a blunder at the back where a press situation where Bradley Barcola was able to get onto the ball straight from a keeper's pass. You know what I mean? And that completely took the motivation and took the wind out of the sails of Chelsea, And that's where I was saying where you have Enzo Fernandez who's scoring a goal, trying to keep you in the game, and then the surrounding players just not able to kind of hold that intensity. There was also a moment where when that happened, Enzo Fernandez was absolutely fuming at the goalkeeper. He was just like, you had a simple pass. You just have to just, get it away, and you cough up the ball. And now we're down, and, the game ends up 5-2. So, I mean, I had to make a point of that because Chelsea were well in it up until that point, whether they would have
Yeah.
actually won the series and won the matchup. But it just shows how those little critical moments in the Champions League can, completely derail you. And it is a very vicious competition in that sense, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot to talk
All
about
right.
that specifically. How to manage a result in the Champions League? Because, Champions League game is not a league game. And you have to understand, players have to understand that's a 180-minute game. And I want to talk about that more in depth when we get to the other games, because I think it's something that we have
Okay.
to talk about a lot. It's very important, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we'll go to the next match, which was Galatasaray versus Liverpool. Now, I think I specifically remember that we pointed out some very key points in the last podcast about how this Liverpool team hasn't looked the same. Some of their players aren't playing as a high quality right now. And Galatasaray ended up winning 1-0. Where do you think this 1-0 result stands in terms of coming back to Anfield?
Well, I told you, right, that I'm still gonna give the edge to Liverpool, especially because they're playing in Anfield after, and I know how hard that the Galatasaray Stadium can be. I know that it's almost like a boiling pot. That's what players say about it. A lot of players that you hear talking on interviews and stuff, they always point out this stadium that's such a hard place to play, right? So I would actually say, although it's not the best result, it's not a bad one either. So I think Anfield, it's going to be powerful, definitely.
That's true. Definitely, if it was a 2-0 or 3-0 result, you could see it as being a stretch. But 1-0 is a little bit manageable. I do see a side of Liverpool that can approach the game with confidence, can approach the game the way they want to, you know. But I'm still gonna give a little bit of mystery to the second half. I think the first half, Liverpool come out probably tie the game, but I'm gonna give some mystery to the second half because you just never know. If it's a 1-1 game, or even if Galatasaray scores a goal, it's going to be tough. So I still put it at a 50-50. But like I said to Anfield, you never know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Real Madrid and Manchester City. Very interesting. I think you also gave a nod to Real Madrid last week. Now, seeing how the game played out, definitely was a surprise, you know, the 3-0 result. What are your thoughts on that?
So this game, it's very comparable to the one PSG and Chelsea, I would say. So this is the topic I wanted to talk in depth about. The players, it's like sometimes, like especially teams that play that style of football, like Guardiola, Luis Enrique, Flick, Xavi, more Barca style. Whenever the game doesn't go their way, they always get so frustrated that they get a lot of goals. So I saw that after the first goal, they were pretty much out of the game. Because the
Yeah,
first 15 to 20 minutes of the game, City was pretty good. They were trying to, you know, get
it
the
was
chances
City's game.
going
Yeah, it
and
was City's
stuff.
game
Yeah,
for sure.
basically. And then one moment to another, the Bernabeu grows into whatever it is. And Fede Valverde did. I prefer that. Although Donnarumma has a little bit of responsibility for removing the hand there, and I don't think it was like a conspiracy theory like people. I think he thought he was outside of the box. That's why he removed his hand in that little play. But
Yeah,
the control of the ball that Valverde did in that first goal, wow, unbelievable, very good. Like one touch, straight up
finish. Yeah, the
running,
finish.
yeah,
Yeah, the
and then
finish
a
was
good
amazing.
finish as well. Yeah, I think we gotta give credits to where credits due. But then that completely took them out of the game. And also, like Courtois' pass was so long and nobody came back. So I felt that their defense was very high for City. So they were kind of, if you're gonna play with that defense like that, like Hansi Flick, you have to be like creating chances all the time. You can go halfway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you want to keep possession and keep like a middle line, and it's fine. But I think the City was very irresponsible in this game in that regard, because I feel that after the first goal, they were completely out of the game. No more chances. And if the times are difficult, they should have, instead of like trying to move forward, they should try to keep possession. 1-0 is not a bad result in the Bernabeu. They can just take care
Yeah.
of that in their stadium. But no, they try to insist to tie the game, and that
Yes.
obviously created the chances for Real Madrid to like do two more counterattacks very cleanly. That they Vinicius in that so passive, like the defensive work of City in that play. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. A lot of the points there that you said were definitely I agree with. I feel like City's approach, essentially took them out of the game, especially after that first goal. Up until the 20-minute mark, like you said, they did have some control and they did have some rhythm, but I think they just assumed that they were going to beat this Real Madrid team with skill. And Real Madrid, they put a lot of effort into the match. And once they realized that the effort was paying off, they grew in confidence defensively. So those passes, those dribbles City was trying to do was just, not effective. Once again, though, I do want to make a point of emphasis with the decision making with Donnarumma, right? The hand thing, whatever, whether he meant to take his hand out or not, that's up for discussion. It's still the decision making to come out that far, to come out and not even be able to make attempt on the ball and get dribbled around by Valverde. Once again, like I said, it's a moment that happens and takes your team out of the game. I feel like City at that point realized, crap, this can happen at any point, right? And then once you realize a counterattack like that can happen at any time, you're helpless, because you don't know what to really think in the game anymore in terms of, do I defend? Do I keep attacking? And they kept attacking, and then it just got worse, So
Yeah.
once again, points of emphasis on the goalkeeper. And I think I told you I'm going to be making a video, green screen video about it because it's, even the way Courtois played on the other end, very classy, very solid, not too many unpredictable moments, right? So these unpredictable moments from these goalkeepers are literally making and breaking these teams in the Champions League right now, Had Donnarumma, had they not scored like that, I think at that moment, I think City get to halftime at least with more control of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, very crucial for these goalkeepers to, and such an experienced keeper like Donnarumma as well. It's definitely not expected in that sense. He also gave away a penalty later in the game, which he actually saved from Vinicius, but still, you have one error in the beginning of the game, you give away another penalty. It's like, how many errors can you suffer through goalkeeping? You know what I mean? In the Champions League, there's a fine line. There's a very fine line.
And I also want to mention that this happens a lot with teams that are not fully built. It's clearly a lack of responsibility and experience when you play a game. Like, they could have, after that 1-0 that Real Madrid scored, they could have like tried to keep the defensive possession, like not necessarily like going to the attack and like leaving a lot of spaces, but be more responsible with the ball, because that's the way they defend themselves, right? Being responsible with the ball,
Right.
And just maybe keeping that result till the end of the first half, and then Guardiola is probably gonna switch things up. But I don't know, like they completely lost it. Like they went 2-0 down to the first half, right?
I think it was 2-0 at the first half, and then 3-0.
It's hard.
So it could have been 4-0 with the penalty, right? So yeah, very, very, very interesting. A couple points I wanted to make as well was I think we talked about it earlier, and we kind of seen this different side of Man City where they're kind of over the fence now from being the top team in Europe, And one thing that came to mind yesterday when I was watching the game is 2 or 3 years ago, City, with their players and the setup that they had, Haaland was so much more comfortable, knowing that I have players that are going to feed me the ball, that are going to give me good balls, that are going to put me in position to succeed, right? Of course, De Bruyne, Haaland's magical number one partner, right? And then we have even Julian Alvarez, who was there, who was also feeding Haaland and opening up different spaces for him. I feel like now that they're over the fence from that era, who's like the number one partner and playmaker for Haaland? I think it's a bit of a guessing game, and I think he's suffering because of it, right? Because he has to guess. Is it going to be from Cherki? Is it going to be from Bernardo? Is it going to be from Doku? There's not a clear partnership, and Haaland is so important to their success.
I think Cherki was supposed to be the one, but he was benched.
He was benched,
yeah, exactly. And I think another partner that helped him a lot, although maybe not directly, was Jack Grealish at the time, when he wasn't going to party.
True, yeah.
And also spiritually, right? The guy connected spiritually with Jack Grealish a lot, and I could see that. Yeah, that made a huge difference on that Manchester City team, and I hope Haaland encounters. Plus, those, like, Jack Grealish had this ability to adapt himself and maybe lower his level of playing just to be more of a worker for the team, right? That's something that nobody talks about, but it's also very important to be humble enough for doing that. Yeah,
that's a big name. Jack Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, Julian Alvarez, all three players that really helped Haaland's success, and now it's like he's searching. He's still putting up the numbers in the Premier League, sure, but we all can say that Haaland is nowhere near having the type of seasons that he was 2 years ago, right? So yeah, very, very interesting there. Very interesting there. Last thing on it, I will say 3-0. Maybe a good first half at the Etihad could still keep City alive. I know it's going to be a tough battle, but you never know. Two quick goals in the first half, then it's game on, So I still want to leave a little window open for City, although they're struggling. They have the players. They have the players to be able to do it. So, all right. So next, quickly, we'll get into Atalanta and Bayern Munich, which was a complete thrashing. I think we all expected it. Not much to really say other than Olise once again having an incredible year. I think he's up to 27 assists on the season and only 3 away from Messi's record, which is actually incredible. So yeah, any quick thoughts on that, or just something we all expected?
We pretty much predicted it, right? We knew that Atalanta wasn't the type of team that would be able to park the bus and resist, and that was just complete like it was was too much of a benefit for Bayern Munich to have that in their advantage. A lot of spaces and obviously a lot of goals, right?
100%. 100%. No, I agree there. So, yeah, that series is pretty much washed. I don't think there's going to be any snowball's chance that that will happen. So, next up, Newcastle and Barcelona. Very interesting game. Yeah, I watched the majority of it as well. Tied 1-1. Very spicy encounter. Two different styles, to be honest with you, going at each other in very different ways, But it was good to see La Liga and the Premier League, even though it wasn't like a top 3 Premier League team. It was good to see that style battle, But I'll let you take it away and give us the first recap on this game. And then I'll tell you what I saw.
I made a response video to Carlo, a Barca fan. He was just trashing Barca, but I have to say that this game has give me that hope that the players currently, they do have the experience to win the Champions League. And this is, for example, that what I was telling you about Manchester City and Real Madrid. If we were to be as irresponsible as Manchester City, Newcastle would have scored like 4 goals. No doubt, man. Because like I still have dreams about Joelinton, bro. Like I see him everywhere. Like I turn around, he's right there. You know what I mean? The level of pressing, dude. Like I've never seen that before. Yeah,
they
it
go
was
crazy,
incredible,
Newcastle.
man.
That's
they are very powerful, and I think Barcelona was responsible enough to read that the players of Newcastle were superior in that physical level, and that there was no way that game would have been won by Barcelona. So if you see Pedri in that game, like, the level of understanding of the game, it's just beyond. The way he would just, like, every Newcastle player would try to press Pedri. He would get around. He would keep possession. So we were defending with our style. We were defending their result. Even a 1-0 for Newcastle would have been a good result. We were trying to keep the ball. We were the players of Barcelona. They were warriors on that game. I have nothing to say about them. They knew that in this part of the playoff, they had to keep us alive, and that's exactly what they did. And I appreciate that. And I know that. And I like they understood that not every game is going to go the way they want it to go. And they have to learn how to change that script. And I think that's the best thing I can get out of this game. A lot of merit to that team.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I think, that definitely kind of puts it in a good way as well. Barcelona definitely did what they had to do based off what the game was offering. There was a couple moments with Lamine where he would even lose the ball and he was pressing right away, right? Like he didn't lose the ball, and some players, they hang their head and, want to kind of do something else. Like there was a couple moments where I seen him lose the ball and he's like, let me go get that right away. Like, you know what I mean? Like not even thinking of it. And that's a very mature way of thinking of it, because I watch so much football, and believe me, like these young players, they lose the ball, that's it. Maybe they'll do a half press, so I was really impressed with that. I think it was a big style clash. I think Newcastle does have that effect to be kind of like a boogeyman, like very scary, but low output, you know what I mean, type thing. So I know that definitely played a factor. Do I feel Barcelona could have or should have played better? I mean, I think when you're trying to match up to the physicality, I think that's what it is more for me. It's more like, okay, now they get a chance to realize that certain games is more physical. It's more about speed. It's more about space dominance and things like that. And like you said, they were able to kind of convert, much like the game against Inter Milan last year, where I originally said, hey, listen, I don't think this Barcelona's team is ready for that type of physicality. Now they're gradually getting into understanding that not every game's the same. Not every game is going to be quick passing and quick strikes. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot more to it.